9th April. On this day in 1937, the Kamikaze arrived at Croydon Airport in London. It is the first Japanese-built aircraft to fly to Europe. Kamikaze was a Mitsubishi Ki-15 Karagani aircraft, sponsored by the newspaper Asahi Shimbun. It became famous on April 9, 1937, as the first Japanese-built aircraft to fly from Japan to Europe. The flight from Tokyo to London took 51 hours, 17 minutes and 23 seconds and was piloted by Masaki Inuma, with Kenji Tsukagoshi serving as navigator.
History Desk TV. Explore the past, analyzing the future.
Ninth April. On this day in 1957, the Suez Canal in Egypt was cleared and opened to shipping business following the Suez Crisis. The Suez Canal is an artificial sea-level waterway in Egypt, connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea through the Isthmus of Suez. It is often considered to define the border between Africa and Asia. Constructed by the Suez Canal Company between 1859 and 1869, it officially opened on 17 November 1869. The canal offers watercraft a more direct route between the North Atlantic and Northern Indian Oceans via the Mediterranean and Red Seas, thus avoiding the South Atlantic and Southern Indian Oceans and reducing the journey distance from the Arabian Sea to London. For example, by approximately 8,900 kilometers, 5,500 miles. The Suez Crisis, or the Second Arab-Israeli War, also called the tripartite aggression in the Arab world and Sinai War in Israel, was an invasion of Egypt in late 1956 by Israel, followed by the United Kingdom and France. The aims were to regain Western control of the Suez Canal and to remove Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser, who had just nationalized the canal. After the fighting had started, political pressure from the United States, the Soviet Union and the United Nations led to a withdrawal by the three invaders. The episode humiliated the United Kingdom and France and strengthened Nasser. On 29th of October, Israel invaded the Egyptian Sinai. Britain and France issued a joint ultimatum to cease fire, which was ignored. On the 5th of November, Britain and France landed paratroopers along the Suez Canal. The Egyptian forces were defeated, but they did block the canal to all shipping. It later became clear that Israel, France, and Britain had conspired to plan out the invasion. The three allies had attained a number of their military objectives, but the canal was useless. Heavy political pressure from the United States and the USSR led to a withdrawal. U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower had strongly warned Britain not to invade. He threatened serious damage to the British financial system by selling the U.S. government's pound sterling bonds. Historians conclude the crisis signified the end of Great Britain's role as one of the world's major powers. The Suez Canal was closed from October 1956 until March 1957. Israel fulfilled some of its objectives, such as attaining freedom of navigation through the Straits of Tiran, which Egypt had blocked to Israeli shipping since 1950. As a result of the conflict, the United Nations created the UNEF peacekeepers to police the Egyptian-Israeli border. British Prime Minister Anthony Eden resigned. Canadian External Affairs Minister Lester Pearson won the Nobel Peace Prize, and the USSR may have been emboldened to invade Hungary.
History Desk TV. Explore the past, analyzing the future.
Ninth April. On this day in 2017, the Palm Sunday church bombings occurred in Egypt. On this day in 2017, the Palm Sunday church bombings at Coptic churches in Tanta and Alexandria took place. On Palm Sunday, 9 April 2017, twin suicide bombings took place at St. George's Church in the northern Egyptian city of Tanta on the Nile Delta and St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Cathedral, the principal church in Alexandria, seat of the Coptic papacy. At least 45 people were reportedly killed and 126 injured. A mock news agency said the attacks were carried out by a security detachment of the ISIS. Following the bombings in Tanta, security forces sealed off all the streets leading to the church and set up emergency checkpoints, allowing bomb disposal experts to examine the church and cars parked in its surroundings for any remaining explosives. Egypt's Interior Minister, Magdi Abdel Ghaffar, Prosecutor General, Nabil Sadek, and other government officials arrived at the scene shortly after the bombing. Forensic experts identified an unknown severed head as a possible suspect in the attack. Tanta's residents, who were demonstrating nearby, physically assaulted Major General Hassam El-Din Khalifa, head of the Garbia's Security Directorate. Khalifa, along with other heads of security, were dismissed later that day by Abdel Ghaffar. 3 other explosive devices were dismantled by police. 2 of them were left by an unknown individual in front of Sidi Abdul Rahim Mosque in Tanta, which contains a Sufi shrine. The other was in Alexandria's College St. Mark.
History Desk TV. Explore the past, analyzing the future.